Hello and welcome to another App Marketing Conversations. I'm here with Ryan Morel of GameHouse, Robi Ganguley of Apptentive, and I'm Ian Sefferman of Mobile Dev HQ. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Great.
Good. Hopefully we're all recovering from WWDC. So we figured we'd go back in time a little bit and talk about some recaps of what were the big events of WWDC and how marketers can take advantage. So one of the biggest pieces of information was sort of the announcements around both app extensibility and app continuity, where extensibility, well here, I'll let you guys explain. You want to explain extensibility, you want to explain continuity real fast?
Yeah, I think so. Extensibility, the easiest way to think about that area of functionality is the extensions. And the extensions are the ability inside an app to actually share a photo on any number of applications you have installed, and once a new application that has an extension installed is installed on your device, then that functionality can show up in other apps. So again, take a photo, share it on Instagram, that's an extension that happens seamlessly and the consumer doesn't have to think about it. But this is the first time that Apple hasn't had to bless extensions inside of apps. Previously you've seen Twitter and Facebook have these things, but now any app maker can have that, which is pretty powerful.
Right. And continuity?
So continuity, I think, at the very basic level, is to enable users who have the same app installed on multiple iOS or Mac devices to use them interoperably. So the simple example that they gave was you're typing an email on your iPhone, you walk up to your Mac, it gives you a little notification, do you want to keep writing this on your Mac? So as far as I understand, this is sandboxed to Mac apps only for now, but clearly as Apple does, and we saw it with the keyboards and with Touch ID, that they'll get the security and privacy and everything right, and then they'll roll it out for third parties. So I would expect that will be something that will come available to third-party devs in iOS 9.
Cool. All right, so let's take a minute or two on each one. Tell me your initial reactions to extensibility. Is it interesting or no?
So I think it's interesting, and I think Robi talked a little bit about this before, is that the overall theme was just Apple being maybe a little bit more open than they have been in the past. And this is an example of that openness, right? Where they're giving developers access to more things than they had in the past. The other one is the keyboards, right? So people have been complaining about no third-party keyboards since 2007, and now we have them. Mm-hmm. And this is a clear use case of that, so to speak. So,
what are your thoughts on it?
I think that it's about time, right? In many ways, you guys have been on iOS devices and give me crap about being on Android, but that aspect of Android is so ingrained in my behavior. I do so much sharing, primarily of photos, but also articles that I see that I want to put in a pocket or tweet or do something like that, that I just do one button inside whatever app I'm looking at the content in. And the fact that you guys haven't had that, now it's going to open it up, means that a bunch of app developers finally will have functionality that's equivalent on both platforms. So I think that's pretty exciting. And I think that the consumers are going to start experiencing that, and there are going to be a whole bunch of people who are like, wait, what? I didn't know you could do this, right? It's just going to show up like magic.
Right.
So
do you think this is sort of my equivalent? You talk a lot about how discovery is broken, but it's only broken for the developers. It's not broken for the consumers. Do you feel like this is actually another instance of that, where consumers actually don't have any idea that this is broken, but developers and marketers are like, this is totally broken, and now they're fixing it?
Yeah, I think it's probably the 80-20 rule. So 80% of people probably don't care, but the 20% that do really do. So this is something that you would maybe go, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, now that iOS has this, I may consider switching, where before you'd be like, no, because of this particular use case that it doesn't enable. So I have a hard time imagining how I'm personally going to use it, but I'm sure that's what developers are for, right? They'll come up with a whole bunch of cool stuff.
All right, so talk about continuity. What are your reactions to the continuity stuff?
that was one of the things during the keynote where I think a bunch of people just gasped. They're like, wow, that's really impressive. And so I think the thing about it that's amazing is if it works as seamlessly as it does in the demo that they show, it gives a lot of people a reason to have just iOS and macOS 10 devices around because that handoff is so cool.
Yeah.
And then I could see that in the enterprise in particular. being actually like a really underappreciated feature, but something that's super useful. You go from a meeting, you're on your iPad, and then you sit down and your desktop and your notes are like synced, or your email and draft is synced, and it just seems like a perfect use case at the enterprise level.
Yeah. The other thing I would add there is that this feels like an underground swipe, an attempt to really move fast into the smart home. Assuming they're using low energy Bluetooth for this, and developers only have to build for one platform, like you can see the scenario where, oh great, now I walk in and my smart home recognizes that my iOS device is here, and all of this stuff just happens, which is harder on Android given the fragmentation of OS systems. So you can see them taking that to all the smart home developers, right, hardware guys, and going, we only have to build this one time, right? So I think it's pretty interesting for the long-term developer ecosystem and kind of all the Internet of Things stuff that they're going to try to do.
The other thing that I think it also lays the groundwork for is, I think we saw part of OS X was moving to a design look and feel that felt more iOS-y than anything, and then add in continuity. And it almost felt like they were sort of starting to lay that groundwork for a time period 10 years out or whatever it is, where I can essentially walk up to a monitor and my phone is my computer, but I get to use it as a different form factor right there. And like, so I'm doing work on my phone when there's no monitor and keyboard available. Then all of a sudden I hit a monitor and keyboard, and now I can do it on a big screen, right? Yeah. Like, it feels like they're trying to converge that world, and we're obviously a ways off, but it sort of lays that groundwork for it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that marketers should be thinking about today based on these announcements?
I think the area to dig into would be extensions. Just thinking about if you're an app that has content sharing capabilities or saving capabilities or things along those lines, like experimenting with extensions is probably a very useful place to invest time and effort.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, especially as it may result in additional opportunities for discovery for developers. So you can see, I'm making this up because I have no idea if this is possible, but for games specifically, is it possible to do a little mini game extensions and have them applied in other pieces of content? Like that's pretty cool. Yep. So I think that's clearly an area, and that goes in line with the widget type notifications, the interactive notifications, which also kind of feel similar to the extensions. So how can you use those in conjunction with extensions to drive engagement around? Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and watch the other segments. Thanks.